Okay, hey everybody, welcome to the SuperCollider Mashup Machine Part 2, and welcome also to my Windows Blue Screen of Death wallpaper. Please enjoy. What I'm going to do in this video is go over or demonstrate the graphical interface that uses the same functionality we covered in Part 1, and I'll give you a little demonstration of making mashup music in real time. So all the fun with none of the code. Okay, so to use the mashup machine, you need some pre-recorded loops, right? AI files, WAV files, what have you. And where you're going to put those files is in a folder called Applications SuperCollider. And that's where the SuperCollider application lives. And in that same folder, there's a folder called Sounds, which I think is made for you when you install SuperCollider. So in that folder, you can put all sorts of stuff. What you need to do is make a folder called Loops, all lowercase, and put that in the sounds folder. And in your loops folder, you can make you're gonna make 5 subfolders. You can make less than 5, and if you make more than 5, SuperCollider will just ignore everything except for those first 5 folders. And in these 5 subfolders, that's where you'll put your loops. And so this first folder right here, I've just called 01 drums. Got some drum beats. Here's one of them. I got some bass licks in the second one. Some cheesy pads. Only the cheesiest. And some other random stuff. So, there's some organ. You can put whatever you want in here. You can name these 5 subfolders whatever you want. You can name your files whatever you want, and you can. But you do have to make a folder called loops, all lowercase, to use the mashup machine in its current state, and put that loops folder inside the sounds folder. Okay, so if you want to follow along, what I'd recommend you do is download the code from this video, which is in the video description below. You can pause the video, download it, open it up in SuperCollider. I've got it right here on my desktop, and so I'm going to open it up in SuperCollider. And here it is. You can see at the beginning there's a whole bunch of comments which try to walk you through the mashup machine. So if video is not quite your thing, maybe you can just read these, and hopefully these will be sufficient. Okay, let's open it up. So you do that by double-clicking on this big parenthesis and pushing Enter. And here's the mashup machine. So what are we looking at here? At the top, we've got 5 columns, and those correspond to the 5 subfolders we made. And the contents of each of those folders are displayed, the file names are displayed in these columns. The bottom half consists of 24 buffer playback modules and 4 master playback modules. So what is a module exactly? Well, this little unit right here is a module for playing back one sound file. And it consists of 5 things. This white bar displays the name of the file that's currently playing. This number is a fade time for fading in and fading out. This colored bar is where you drop the desired sound file from the library above. The X will clear the queue, and this is a gain slider for the individual module. And why the colors? Well, the orange modules read from the 2-measure phaser, so that's where you should put 2-measure loops. The purple read from the 4-measure phaser, and the green, the 8-measure phaser. And so these master playback modules, there's a gain slider, and that affects all 6 modules above it. So you want to choose carefully when you pick a file and put it in a module. Be cognizant of where you're putting it and how you want to control and mix your mashup. And there's also a low pass knob and a high pass knob, and again, these affect everything in the 6 modules above it. And the knob value corresponds to the cutoff frequency, and it goes from 20 hertz to 2000 hertz, and I'll demonstrate that in a bit. Okay, so those are the modules. The next cue button, that's sort of the OK go button. It says if there's a cue it's silent and you want a sound file there, or there's a sound file playing and you want something silent, next cue will activate all those cues and say, okay, everybody change, do your thing. And that's pretty much it. There's tempo boxes here. This is the current tempo. which you can adjust, and there's a cued tempo, which will change once next cue is pressed. So let's fire it up. You hit the start button, and the machine starts counting. The green numbers correspond to beats. The blue numbers correspond to measure numbers. And so the mashup machine is on an 8-measure loop, and it just goes around and around and around. So the machine is active. Let's throw something into the machine. So let's see. I'm gonna start with a beat. I'll start with Wonk Beat 4, which is right here. And here's how I've named my sound files. I start with the original beats per minute. We're at 120 and this is at 130, so it'll be a little slower than usual. And then at the end I put a hyphen and the number of measures to remind myself of how many measures it is, right? So what you do is you hold command, this is important, hold the command key and click and drag to the appropriate module. And you can see the little colored bar says, okay, this is what I have queued, but the white bar says I'm still not playing anything. So how do we make it play? We hit the next cue button. And on the downbeat, and it repeats, because we're on measure 5. So that's just gonna run. Let's see. I'll throw something else in there. Bass pick 2, I'll put that in the second column, and it's a -2, so it's a 2-measure loop. And so I'm gonna wait till the 8th measure. You can also hit spacebar instead of clicking next cue. So the gain slider works for the individual module. But so does the master fader. Let's see, I'm going to adjust the tempo. I'll make it up to 128. I'm going to hit enter, but nothing's going to change yet because I have to hit next cue. And I'll do so now. And on the downbeat, we've changed tempo. I'm going to throw some organ in here. I'll wait until the 8th measure. Spacebar. Let's see. I'll switch out this beat and I'll X this guy out. And 8th measure. Different bass line. Different organ lick, and let's just add like, I don't know, let's add another beat. This is a 4-measure beat, so we got 2 in the first column now. Okay, so while that's running, I'm going to show you the best part, and that is the MIDI functionality. So I've got my Korg Nano up and running here, and as you can see, I've isolated 4 sliders, and these correspond to the master playback modules. And I've got 8 knobs as well along the top, and those correspond to the low pass and high pass knobs. So let's just get the drums here. And what I'm going to do, so as you can see, the fader works here, but so do these knobs. Right, so again, this cutoff frequency is, the high pass cutoff frequency is now 20 Hertz, so everything above 20 Hertz goes through, and now everything above 20,000 Hertz goes through, so we hear essentially nothing. Switch some more stuff in here if we want. Let's take it down a notch. throw that bass in there, and I can make all these changes, but nothing's gonna happen yet, right? Until I hit spacebar. Yeah, okay, so we got a nice groove going here, and really, once you got your loops, and once you got the machine, and once you sort of figure everything out, it can be a lot of fun. So let's fade some of these out. Let's get rid of that. 10-second fade time. So those will start fading out. Let's fade out the drums. Let's just get rid of that guy. So all we have is our chords. And so to stop everything, we can just hit stop, but that's a little boring. What I like to do is click on the current tempo and grab one of these knobs and do one of those. And then you can hit stop. And when you hit stop, it resets everything, and so you can just pick a new tempo and fire it up again and do whatever you want. Right, okay, so that is the Mashup Machine graphical interface. And please enjoy the link to the code that I gave you at the bottom. I encourage you to open it up, find some sound files, and experiment. As for finding sound files, you can do a Google search for royalty-free samples. There's tons of them out there. You can just yank stuff off of your iTunes library, or you can probably use some Apple loops if you're using GarageBand or something like that. There's a lot of options out there. Okay, so before I finish up, I guess I'll just display a little of the code if you're interested. I mean, you can just download it, look at it yourself, but you can see here we've got the groups that we created from the from part 1 and the synth defs, our 4 synth defs, and then the rest of it is a lot of graphical user interface stuff. Windows, list views, those are the columns. This is the part that handles the clicking and dragging and dumping into the things. There's an object called drag sync, which is very useful for that. And actually very important here, I assume that not everyone has one of these, the Corganos, but I bet a lot of people have various MIDI controllers. So what you can do, if you have a controller with knobs and sliders and stuff, but they send out on different continuous controller numbers, then you can just change these numbers here. So if you've got something that sends out a range from 0 to 127 on continuous controller value number 43, then if you want that to be the first slider, then just go here and change this to 43, and close the Mashup Machine and open it up again. It's pretty straightforward if you've got a controller of your own, but if you have questions, let me know and I'll try to clarify. Okay, so I think this guy is pretty stable at this point. It's not buggy at all. It works well consistently. However, this is what I'd consider version 1, and there's a lot of features. There are a lot of features I would like to implement. The first of which, I think the most important, is some sort of MIDI learn functionality. So instead of going into the code and changing these values manually, you can enter. There'll be a button here. It says MIDI, enter MIDI learn mode, and so all of a sudden the machine is listening, and so you click one of these sliders, and then you can move a slider, and that'll sort of wake it up and activate it. It would be nice to have a MIDI learn function. I think that's what I'm most interested in doing next with this. But it would also be nice to make a class file out of this. So instead of opening up the thing, opening up a bunch of code, you can just say something like this: m equals mashup machine.new, and maybe you can specify, your own loop folder or something. You can specify a path name instead of having to conform to the one that I'm having you use. So a class file would be nice as well. I've had some people say that this doesn't actually fit on really small computer screen resolutions, and so sometimes the next queue button is like down here and you can't see it. So if there's enough, if there are enough complaints about that, I'll try to bump this up, but I'm sure you could also figure it out yourself. Anyway, please play with this and experiment and let me know what you think. And I would love feedback both on the machine and the video, because it'll help me make better videos in the future, and it'll help me learn how to be a better teacher of SuperCollider. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this.